Hello? Hello? Are we on this morning? Well, I'm upstairs in uh, the library area of the DuQuette haunted mansion. Uh, but anyway, today we are going to, or I am going to talk and ramble on a little bit about the I Ching, spelled Ching or Yking. Well, the I Ching. Okay, here's the text that is my has been my go-to text for well over 50 years now. It's the Wilhelm Baines edition or translation of the I Ching. But over the years, of course, I've used many different editions. Crowley used the leg edition, which was the only one available at the time, and he used. Uh, I had the privilege of actually consulting that the Crowley's personal volume, which he painted the covers with Oriental themes in oil paints, and his marginal notes are just priceless. Where he disagrees with leg, he goes wooden leg bullshit and things like that. But Crowley wrote his own I Ching, and uh, from his particular thelemic point of view and everything else. And years ago, our good friend uh, Jerry Cornelius and Marlene Cornelius. I think it was Marlene in particular here. Uh, Privately published this cute little edition of Crowley's I Ching. Okay, and it's been published in various editions and things like that over the years, and so it's not hard to get a copy of the I Ching, and usually most of them are really good. But a few weeks ago, we were visited by our. This is weird. We were visited by our friend. I moved the camera, but it took me a half hour to set it up like this. Uh, our good friend William Witt, okay, who is in himself. Uh, this will embarrass him for me to say, but he is a master, and uh, in a classical Zen way. He is a beautiful soul, and he said we were talking about the I Ching and the different ways of consulting it, or randomly generating the six lines that form the hexagrams that give you your answer and your advice. And I told him it's just much easier to kind of show you how to use the traditional method than it is to try to write it down or explain it. So uh, he said, "Well, why don't you do that for one of your shows?" And so that's what we're going to do this morning. Uh, and so I'm going to not so much discuss the profound profundities of the wisdom of the I Ching, but this morning sort of concentrate on what you actually do to generate those lines. Um, After which you get a hexagram, and then you consult the book uh, to see if you could intuit from the book's wisdom the answer to your question. So anyway, my first contact with the I Ching was with Crowley's own I Ching, his own leg copy of the I Ching and his own sticks. Now these are not his sticks, but they're mine. I had a good friend, Craig Hill, make these for me. There's 6 sticks of rosewood, and they're blank on one side, and a nice little strip of abalone or mother of pearl along the other side. One of these is cut at a different angle. They were all cut from the same block of rosewood. And to show you how one is different than the others, there's the grain of 5 of them. Okay, it was cut at an angle like that, so it gives you very pronounced, beautiful grain like that. And one of them was cut at 45 degrees for that, and it looks completely flat. You don't see pronounced grain, or it's super wide grain. And anyway, Crowley's method was to do that. Ask your question, throw the sticks like that, reassemble the sticks just according to which one lands nearest to you, and there is your hexagram. And you look it up, read the hexagram that is, treat the special one as a moving line. So in this particular case, let's just make sure we're looking it all up there. I don't know if you can see it that well on the screen here, but there's Lee on the bottom, and let's see here, and Con on the top, so that'd be hexagram number 63. Hexagram number 63, you read the commentary on that, and we have one moving line, so you read the commentary on that moving line. So that's part 2 of your answer. Then you flip that moving line into its opposite, and that forms a third, or another hexagram, and then you read the commentary on that hexagram. Now that's fine and good, and that's complicated enough for me, and I was very happy with that method. But the very first encounter that I had with the I Ching was years before that, and I wanted to do it in the most classical way. Okay, as a youngster, I wanted to do it just like Lao Tzu would have done it, you know. And that is a yarrow stalk thing, because the yarrow stalk method is done so it mathematically helps generate hexagrams with moving lines that occur in a frequency that sort of compounds the rarity of the moving lines. Okay, obviously if you had you should be able to get a hexagram with all 6 moving lines. Okay, and that'd just be insanely difficult to interpret it. Okay, but not impossible. And with Crowley's method, you always get one moving line, but never do you have a chance of getting no moving lines, or 2 moving lines, or 3 or 4 or 5. So there are disadvantages to the 6-stick method, and you want to make the odds of getting one moving line harder than it would be to the odds of getting no moving lines, and even harder odds to get 3 moving lines, and even harder and rarer to get all 6. Okay, and for that the Chinese uh, used a method of flipping 3 coins, and uh, they flipped 3 coins, heads, tails, kind of things, heads, heads, tails, 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 whatever, and you flip 3 coins 3 times to get determine one line. Okay, so when you flip 3 coins, you have a chance of getting an old a young male line, a yang line, or an old yang line, which would be a male line that's gotten so old it's turning into its opposite, or a yin, or a female line, unbroken line, or a old broken line that got so old it's turning into its opposite. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well off the top of my head this morning, but that's a very popular method too, and it gives you those better cosmic odds of the infrequency of moving lines. I use a variation on that with I just use 6 coins, heads and tails. Like when I'm in a hotel room and I have to do a I Ching reading on the fly. I'll try to take some pocket change and have maybe 5 pennies and a nickel, and the nickel will be my moving line. Okay, but anyway, also way back in 2012 during the election, somebody sent me these Aleister Crowley for president coins, and I use 6 of those sometimes too, like that. Okay, but enough of that frivolity. Let's talk about the yarrow stalk method. One of the disadvantages to the coins, one of the disadvantages to that kind of generation of the lines, is that by tradition the I Ching was a vegetable oracle tied to the divinity of the tortoise. Now, for various reasons, the tortoise is sacred to the I Ching, because you turn the tortoise around and see the segments of its shell at the bottom, and very often it's broken up into 6 segments. But early on in the I Ching, in the I Ching's evolution, it was almost like a heads or tails thing. Should we attack? Will there be victory if we attack the neighboring village in the morning? And what they would do is everyone would gather around like a campfire, and then they would throw an empty tortoise shell into the fire. And when the tortoise shell cracked, they dug it out of the fire, and they saw where the cracks occurred on one of these segmented lines of the tortoise's shell. So it was a tortoise oracle. And they look at it, and by the way they would interpret it, they go, yes, let's attack the village. There will be success tomorrow. And of course, sometimes they had success, and sometimes their enemy had success. So they had to throw two out of 3 tortoise shells, and then it got complex. But later on, when it became very stylized, what they would do in the temple, in the courtyard of the temple, they would lay out a sand or a gravel uh, grid in the courtyard. And then on that grid, in a very systemized way, they would take yarrow stalks. Now, these yarrow stalks were picked by my good friend Mad Bob, or Bob Patton. I don't know if he likes to be called Mad Bob anymore. Up by Clear Lake, California during a thunderstorm. Because yarrow grows wild in his neck of the woods. So he picked these for me, and I've been using these for many years. Okay. And they would lay, here we go, they would stick these yarrow stalks on a grid on that sandy courtyard, and then they would take the sacred tortoise, the temple tortoise, okay, which they just have hanging around for good luck and longevity and stuff. And one monk would be on one side of the courtyard and one on the other, and one of them had the tortoise, and the other one would yell, "Let your sacred tortoise loose!" And then the tortoise would move along like that, and would move along and knock over specific sticks in a specific way. And then the monks sort of knew how to read the message, how to read which I Ching hexagram was formed by the turtle thrashing around. Tortoise, Constance reminds me. Okay, so these are used to generate that moving line. So to show you the procedure, which is what Mad Bob wanted me to do and where I should have started this talk today. Well, when I first started doing this, probably in 1969, because I remember where we were living. We're living on Eldon Street, and it was before I knew anything about Crowley, before I got into too much of anything except LSD and Eastern mysticism. I couldn't find yarrow stocks. There wasn't a yarrow stocks R Us. There wasn't an internet to get it. So I went down to the hobby shop, and I got 25 very lengthy sticks of just wooden doweling. And then I chopped those in two with what I considered my sacred knife. So I had 50 beautifully formed, looks almost like spaghetti, doesn't it? Yarrow, or phony yarrow stalks. But I used this for years, and I put them in the tube that I also got at the hobby shop, and I put the funny little things there. Okay. And I did have the Wilhelm Baines I Ching. Okay, that being said, I'm going to show you how to manipulate the sticks to generate a yin line, or a yang line, or a old yin line, or an old yang line. Okay, so I'll put this stuff aside here. Here's a little ceremony. I believe the book is set up in the south, hopefully elevated above the line of consultation. You do 3 full body prostrations, light one stick of incense, you have your question firmly in mind. And that's what you're concentrating on. Okay. Once the incense is going, you take your 50 sticks, you rotate it 3 times in the incense smoke while you state your question. Can I show this to my Facebook friends this morning? Okay. Then, of these 50 sticks, you take one out and place it like that. Then, however you need to do this, you can either hold them in your hand, or if they're nice and round and smooth like this, you can do that on your consultation table. You lay them down, randomly break them into 2 stacks. Put one on the right and one on the left. From the one on the right, you take 1 stick and you put it between your little finger and your ring finger of your left hand. And with the right hand, you start separating the sticks 4 by 4. Until there are 4 or less left. Then you put that stack between your ring finger and your middle finger, like that, so you can keep track. The reason you're doing that is if you screw up at any point in this pretty lengthy ceremony, you'll be able to back up just 1 step and correct yourself. So it's pretty cool. Then, on the right hand, you count 4, 4, 4, 4, until there are 4 or less left. Then you put them between these 2 fingers. Now you got a bundle here. And because of the mathematics of this whole thing, it should be either 5 in your bundle or 9 in your bundle. If it isn't, you go, oh, I screwed up, and then you can put everything back and kind of redo it until you've got your 5 or 9. So here we've got 9. So we take our 9 sticks over here and we set them right aside, right over there, and then we gather them up, lay them down, separate them. Take 1 from the right stack. From the left stack, count by 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. Till there are 4 or less left. Do the same thing with the right stack. 4. 4. 4. And there's 3 left. So there's 1, 4, and 3. 8. There must be either 8 or 4 sticks. That's how the math works out. So here we've got 8. So we place it side by side, keep some things separate there with your other bundle, and then we scoop them up, lay them down, separate them, right, left. From the right, 1 stick between those 2 fingers, 4, 4, 4, 4. Put them between those 2 fingers, 4, 4, 4, and 3. Once again, a bundle of 8. And if it's, we should have either 8 or 4 here. And that's information you keep in your head. So here we've got bundles. Our 3 bundles give us 3 numbers. 9, 8, and 8. And 9, 8, and 8 is an old yin line. So that's a moving line. Now, so if we would write it down, we would go 9, 8, 8, and then it's a moving yin. So here is a yin. That's what a yin looks like. Looks like that. Okay, just a broken line. But this is an old yin line, and so it's a moving line. So you designate it like that. So we have just drawn that procedure has just given us the lowest there will be. We'll do that whole thing over again 5 more times to make a line here and a line here and a line here and a line here and a line here. Now we've got to get on with our day, so I'm not going to do 5 more of those things. But that's the procedure. And when it's all over and you've got all 6 of them here, you're very grateful. And then you light another stick of incense, if you can. See, I've got my Pope lighter that Constance just found for us. Yeah, we might not be able to light the second one, so we do light it in thanks. We put everything back as neatly as possible so our brains won't be occupied with mundane things, and we sit down to read the I Ching commentaries out of the book. How's that? Oh, before I stop for today, it occurred to me that if you take, some classic chopsticks, especially Chinese-style chopsticks, that are sort of cylindrical at the tips, but the handles are like elongated cubes. If you chop up 6 chopsticks, so you have 6 elongated cubes, you could have one side totally clear, but on the opposite side you could run a line through it, and at an angle you could have 2 lines running toward the ends to give you the moving yang line, and on the other side 2 lines toward the center for an old yin line. And so I had a friend make this out of these cool acrylic things. So you could sort of combine the Crowley method just by tossing the sticks like that. Now this does not give you the same wonderful moving odds that the yarrow stalk method. In other words, you could get 6 moving lines easier with a toss like this. So it has advantages and disadvantages. But here we've got a moving line in the first place. First is the bottom. And in the third place, so here's a hexagram with two moving lines. So, which might be more understandable. Anyway, that's that. Now, I had a very, very dear friend, the late Tim Maroney. And when he passed away, his partner, Kat, was kind enough to give me his yarrow stocks. So you can see the reverence to which I Ching people store and display their tools. Anyway, that should be it for today. That was a little I Ching demonstration. Perhaps someday I'll try to, when I get my technology set up a little better, do a full-blown consultation and go through all 6 of those motions and generate this a real hexagram. Again, the one that I truly recommend is the go-to one text is the Wilhelm Baines edition, but I've even made a Lon version of the Wilhelm Baines one in a very lighthearted way in my book, The Book of Ordinary Oracles. Also, you can get it online called the I Ching of Milo. Anyway, that's it for today. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.